Once upon a time there was a very poor young man named Simon. This young man went to the market to look for work to eat and drink from, and when he got there, a very rich merchant came on a golden cart, and all the men of the market were there, but as soon as they saw him approaching they ran and hid from him. Only one man was left, and that was Simon. The rich merchant said to Simon, "If you are looking for a job, good boy, I will work for you for 100 gold coins a day." The young man agreed without much thought. And the rich merchant said to him, "Come to the wharf tomorrow, let us start work." The next day, Simon arrived at the wharf, and found the rich merchant waiting for him. The merchant and the young man boarded a ship and sailed for a long time until they reached an island containing many mountains, and a giant golden palace for the rich merchant. The family met and everyone went to the palace, and the new worker went with them. They sat and ate the most delicious types of food. The young worker was a good and handsome man. The merchant's daughter loved him very much and was looking at him with admiration. After they finished eating, the merchant said to the young man, "Let us rest today and start work tomorrow." The merchant told the young man to spend the night in the guest room, and at night the merchant's daughter came to Simon and gave him a flint and a gold stone and said to him, "Take this, perhaps you will need it one day." The next day, the rich merchant went with the good worker to the top of the gold mountain. And when they arrived, the merchant said to the worker, "Let us have a toast to courage," and he gave him a little hypnotic drink. As soon as the young man drank, he fell asleep soundly. After that, the merchant took a knife and killed a large sheep. Its belly was cut open, and the young man was put inside, and he sewed the skin of the sheep well, and he sat in the forest. After a while, the crows came flying and grabbed the lamb and carried it up the mountain and started pecking it, and soon the crows devoured the lamb and were about to start devouring Simon, but fortunately Simon woke up at this moment and drove the crows away from around him and asked loudly, "Where am I?" The rich man replied, "You are at the top of the mountain of gold, and in order to come down from it, you must extract the gold and throw it at the bottom of the mountain." The young man did what the rich man told him, and he extracted a lot of gold and rolled it down the mountain. "Much more than I need," said the young man, "and how am I going to come down?" Then said the rich man, 99 men before you ended their lives on this mountain, and with you the number will be 100. The poor young man thought, "What should I do? Going down is impossible, and staying means cruel death from hunger and thirst." Our friend stood on the mountain while black crows with sharp beaks hovered over his head, as if preparing in advance to devour the prey. The young man tried to think how all this happened, and he remembered what the beautiful girl said to him when she gave him the gold and flint stones and said, "Take this, you may need it someday."
The young man took out the gold stone and the flint stone and struck them together, and suddenly a strong man appeared in front of him and said to him, "What is your wish?" On the beach, the young man found a boat sailing near the island, and he said in a loud voice, "O good men, take me with you." The sailors responded to the young man's request, and they took him with them and returned him to his town. A long time passed, and the young man again suffered from hunger because of his extreme poverty, so he went to the market in search of work. The rich man himself came with his golden cart. As before, the men hurried to hide as soon as they saw him coming. Simon was left alone. The rich man said to him, "Would you agree to work with me for 200 gold pieces a day?" The young man agreed, and explained to him how eager he was for this work. The next day they met on the dock and boarded the ship and sailed towards the island. Of course, the rich merchant did not remember Simon, as he was 99 young men before him. The rich man received the young man at his home, and they spent the first day with joy. The next day, the worker and his master went to work, and when they reached the Golden Mountain, the merchant said to the young man, "Before anything, take a drink." The young man said, "Wait, sir." The young man had already brought some invigorating syrup, mixed it with the wine, and offered it to the merchant. And as soon as the rich merchant drank the wine he went to sleep. After that Simon killed a big sheep and opened its stomach and put the merchant inside it and then sewed up the sheep and hid himself among the trees. Immediately black crows with sharp beaks came and carried the sheep with the sleeping merchant inside and carried him to the top of the mountain. When the merchant woke up he looked around and said, "Where am I?" The young man replied, "You are on the top of the Golden Mountain. In order to come down from it, you must dig and bring down the gold first." The rich merchant was forced to obey, so he dug and rolled the gold down the mountain, and the young man filled the carts with gold. The young man shouted, "Enough! And with your death today the number will become 100, after that the young man took the gold wagons and went to the rich merchant's palace and married the beautiful merchant's daughter, and the merchant's daughter became the master of all her father's property, and Simon and his family moved and lived in the golden palace. What about the arrogant rich merchant? He became like many of his victims, the prey of black iron-beaked crows.